Hi everyone, so in this session we're going to cover basically how to build a proposal, and I'm going to talk about that basically through mainly a couple of case studies. So firstly I'm going to talk about how to find partners and different approaches to doing that. Then I'm going to take you through two case studies. One is under the Horizon 2020 program and one under the Erasmus Plus program. So take you through the proposals, how they were built, the kind of key structure of what we put into them, but critically I'm going to show you the evaluation reports at the end and the key results that we got out of those and the learnings. Okay, so firstly to finding partners. I mean, really it's all about networking. So like joining relevant associations, so whether they're in research or other areas, trying to find existing coordinators of European projects. So search out for projects that are involved in your particular area, find the coordinators, link with them, use LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn a lot to connect with people. Join different thematic networks or concerted actions. The Commission funds a lot of networks that look at particular areas, so it's very useful to try and find those and join them. Try to become an evaluator, so try to find members of assessment or evaluation panels. Find different people who write different European studies and reports. So, many people are commissioned to write reports and they have, I suppose, a leading edge on what's happening. Attending European conferences and seminars, that's where you meet people and you find out people who are working on new proposals that might invite you in to join. And then in most cases there is a national contact point, in particular for Horizon 2020, but also for Erasmus there are national agencies. The Erasmus funding is decentralized, particularly for strategic partnerships, and your national agency has access to funding, so you can meet with them usually on a reasonably informal basis and discuss your concepts and ideas and get them to connect you with different partners. Some funding programs allow you to express interest, so there's lots of different examples out there. There are lots of different brokerage events that you could attend. For example, this was a brokerage event on knowledge alliances. So this was the event. It was web streamed back in December of last year around knowledge alliances. So you could just click in. It was also recorded so you could watch it later. Give the background to the knowledge alliances, and then you see the agenda there. Kind of the key policy officers were presenting what it is, how do you apply, how do you submit, kind of the practicalities, and different aspects. So very easy to join and connect with that, and they usually have also other networking aspects to it where you can connect with people who are also attending or watching live. So we just go back to the proposal then. So look out for those. Make sure you're watching the different websites and make sure that you're notified of those brokerage events. So Cordis is the main website, the news website for the Horizon 2020 program, so very important to be connected to that. Connect to any social media feeds. Europa.eu, there's lots of events mentioned on social media. So this is the Horizon 2020 Twitter feed. This is a LinkedIn group on Horizon 2020, so you can join those and connect with different people through those. So they're just some examples of ways that you can find out about funding that's becoming available and partners that may be looking for people to join consortia. So let's move into a case study then. So this is a Horizon 2020 case study. So it's called QB Skills Pass. So one of the big things about building proposals, you need a good acronym. So the acronym for this was QB Skills. So it was built around a very successful partnership in Ireland working on upskilling of construction workers in the field of energy. We had been networking with other similar projects across Europe for 4 years, so we had a very strong network of potential partners. There was a dedicated call in the Horizon 2020 call in 2017. We had a precursor project called QualiBuild, which was very well received at European level, and we were very much encouraged to apply again for funding. So in principle, stars aligned. We could build a strong consortium with a very good idea. The Commission was interested in it, so why would it not work? So the concept was built around the idea that construction workers needed a skills pass. So typically they don't have one. There's no record or CPD structure for construction workers in buildings. We had piloted a version of this in Ireland. We found a similar version in Holland. So we were going to work to combine these two systems and develop a mobile app solution, which would allow construction workers to track and record their skills and training. And that could then be rolled out across Europe, because we would make it pan-European over time. So that's the concept and the aims and objectives. So the idea would be that we would have a solution. The construction worker would build their profile about their personal information, their skills and skills profile as they build it up. They could pull in data from external registers, and then they would have their skills database so as that they could build on and access course information, again from external sources or developed within the app. And that would point them to and seek to engage them in upskilling and recommend courses for them. So that was the concept. And the call text, when we look at it, was very much in line what we were connecting with. So improving the skills of blue-collar workers in the area of sustainable construction. And we were highlighting these points here, that we were looking at coordinating and accompanying measures. And in particular, we were focusing on incentives to encourage the participation of craftsmen. So we felt that building these mobile apps and websites would encourage craft workers to engage with training. And looking at mutual recognition, because of our system, we were going to look at how, if you're putting course information up, that could be mutually recognized in other member states. So the full call text is here. Sorry, and I'll just click into that for 1 second just to show you again, refresh you on what the call text looks like, but then to target on the specific impacts that were expected. So again, here's the call text. I'm just going to the topic description. Again, the scope is much more detailed than I showed in the slides, but here's the impact that they were looking at. So creation of implementation of qualification training schemes. So we were looking at that through our application. Sustainability after the European project funding, increasing number of workers, good collaboration between different trades, so that should be facilitated through the app, and reducing the gap between actual energy performance and what's designed, measurable savings, and improved market recognition. So that was going to be a key thing for us. So we were hitting some of those, but in retrospect, maybe not as many as we should have. So on to the consortia then we had LIT as coordinator, so a research organisation. So again, important looking at the organisation types. We had a blend of research, public, SMEs and other type of bodies. So we had an SME in Bulgaria, a support organisation for construction workers in Spain, Chamber of Commerce, or Chamber of Commerce for the construction sector in Bulgaria, public research company in Hungary, a construction support organisation in Holland, and a web development company in Ireland. So very well recognised organisations with good reputations in Europe. So we felt a strong consortia. And the connections with these people were built up over time, and we had good personal relationships. So that's how that consortium was formed. So that's the spread of them across Europe. A unique thing that we added into this is that we also had observer countries. So they didn't get a large budget, but they would watch what we were doing in the partner countries and then look and see how, if successful, our Skills Pass register would be developed in those countries. And then you can see the countries that weren't involved in the consortia. So you'll see overall methodology was and often a good approach is to try and be able to put this your methodology for your proposal into a framework diagram like this. So what is the name of the different stage, the outline of the work that will be done, and the outputs, and what will be the inputs then into that stage. So we kind of had stage 1 around framework and analysis, stage 2 was the design of the Skills Pass, stage 3 was piloting, stage 4 is exploitation. And then our outputs was our kind of framework reports, our Skills Pass developed in each country, results from the evaluation, and dissemination and reference tools. So that method of displaying what you're going to do is perhaps a useful one, and you'll see in the second case study it's a method that I frequently use. And the principle of trying graphically displaying what you're going to do for the evaluator is a useful one. They're reading lots of text all of the time, so if you can do it in a graphic format, it really helps. Then the structure in terms of governance, again important to be able to show that you're able to manage the project. We have a steering committee chaired by a particular person, so ideally you want to show who it is and their experience, a coordinator, admin team, and then work package leaders. So important that there's a good spread of resources across the team. And then we had observer countries, and also then expert advisory forums. So these are experts, one from each country, that can provide expertise, and they would be like a steering group that would be referred to during the project implementation. Very busy diagram, but this is a PERT chart, so again you really need to be able to develop these. This shows the interrelationships between both the work packages and the tasks within each work package. So each work package has its tasks. All of those tasks have resources allocated to them and outputs, and they feed into each other. Again, we won't bother going into the detail of those, but a diagram similar to that needs to be developed, and that's used as a project management tool also. And then the Gantt chart. If you've never produced a Gantt chart before, it's very important to be able to do that. So this is showing the timing of each task, each work package, where the deliverables and where the milestones are. So very clear progression. We have work package on management at the top, so throughout the project, dissemination throughout the project, and then a clear build-up, kind of staggered and scaffold approach from work package to work package with interdependencies. So clearly, unless we do this work package, work package 2 and 3, we won't be able to build work package 4 or work package 5. We have deliverables and milestones along the way. So the critical sections in the Horizon 2020 document then are around excellence. So the objectives and concept and methodology. So clearly explaining to the evaluator what you aim to do, how it ties in with the specific call in the call for proposals, what's your concept and the methodology for implementing that. Then assuming your methodology would be implemented, what do you expect your impact would be? How will you measure that in terms of performance indicators? And what's your dissemination and exploitation strategy? So how will people know about what you're doing, and how will you communicate the results? Then it's the implementation. So that's the description of each of the work packages, risk management, and the consortium as a whole. So describing yourselves, why you work well together, why you bring added value to the European Union. So they're in sections 1, 2 and 3. Section 4 and 5 are detailed description of each of the partners, and that is something you can do very early. So I'm just going to open the document now. I'm not going to share the full document with you, obviously, because some of it is confidential, but I'll quickly skip through some of the documents so you can see the type of text that's written. So this is the proposal document. The full proposal document. So it's made up of a number of parts. So the first part is the budget description and information about all the partners. So that comes together automatically when you have your pick numbers and you assemble all your partners. It then shows the budget, so you can see the budget was about €1 million. And then there's information about security and other different aspects. So that's the first part. So then this is the description. As you remember, we talked about the sections on excellence, impact and implementation. So quickly just scrolling down, so firstly we're talking about the objectives. So here's our key objectives. So you can see in particular we started talking about numbers in the area very quickly so that the evaluator can see this, the scale of the project that we're talking about. Then we try to connect and show evidence that this was needed. So these are quotations from particular people, particular funding projects that show where it came from. The relevance to the call. So again, we pulled out sections from the call text and said this is exactly what we're doing and this is the relevance to the call. Then we have key stakeholders. So these are people that are involved in the sector in different regions, why they're important. I'm going to skip through them because there's lots of them. Then our concept. So you'll see these are the diagrams I talked about. So quickly the evaluator is able to see what we're talking about. Show them diagrams of the existing systems that we're going to build on. And then talked about projects that are working across Europe that have some relevance to the area and asking whether they have registers or not and could we connect with them. Then we talked about existing projects. So this is a very long section, so this is really showing projects that we know are involved in the area and how we can build on them. And this is our methodology. So again, very quickly, very important in Horizon 2020 to talk about gender balance. We've talked about data showing the gender balance within the construction sector and how we might impact that. Section 2 is impact. Then this is where we've talked about really about the number of people who might use our system across the different countries, performance indicators, and trying to give real hard data that would back up what we're trying to achieve. And particularly for energy projects, we need to talk about energy saving, kilowatt hours, that's units of energy, CO2 percentage saving. So that's kind of a defined area to focus on. Very important to quickly identify the barriers, also clearly identify the barriers and show how you might address those during the project. Then we've detailed dissemination, so newsletters, conferences, events, at what stage we're going to do those, how we're going to communicate. So again, very clear presentation of who are the stakeholders, what are our key messages. Sorry guys, I'm skipping through this, but I suppose some of this is somewhat confidential, so I have to be careful with what I present to you. Then it's our work packages. So again, this is our diagram of what we propose to do, our Gantt chart. And then there's a standard work package descriptor. You identify the resources across the partners, the objectives of that work package, description of work, so each task, key deliverables, and key milestones. And you repeat that for each work package as we go along. So we had 7 work packages in all. Then at the end we summarize all the deliverables and all the milestones. Talk about the team, talk about how we're going to manage ourselves and the risk management strategy and European dimension, how we have So this is where we brought in our observer countries and showed that we have experts in other countries also, and then a little bit about the resources and the budgets, etc. So that's what it looks like. As I mentioned, section 4 or 5, section 4 is really a description of each of the partners. So once you have your consortium finished, send them a standard form where they describe their organization and their expertise into a particular area. That's something you can do very quickly. Set up a standard form that everybody fills up. I'll pop one up actually describing LIT on the website, or on the Moodle page, so you can see it. So the result was good. We passed the threshold, but we weren't funded. We were on the reserve list because there was a lot of competition. So Horizon 2020, you're scored out of 15, 5 for excellence, 5 for impact, 5 for implementation. So we scored well in different areas, but unfortunately didn't get over the line. So if we look at the evaluation report, again we got 3.5 out of 5 for excellence, which is good. Could have been a bit higher. Again, I'm highlighting the shortcomings here. Basically, we didn't talk enough about what training we would mobilize. We talked too much about the skills passport system rather than development or upgrading of qualification. So we lost out there. So probably lost 0.5 of a mark there. On impact, 3.5 out of 5, again good. So baseline assumptions for our impact maybe were a little weak. I didn't talk about how much we would monitor the impacts. And finally 3.5 out of 5 for implementation. So 2 points here. Generally it felt very good. I was a bit disappointed on the score we got here given the remarks of the evaluator. But they basically said our management budget was too high, and in retrospect it was. And they also said partner 7 there was not enough tasks clearly articulated in the work package, so that was a shortcoming. So again, those couple of shortcomings, if we had to address them properly, we probably would have got funded. But hindsight is 2020. So let's now move on to Social B, which is an example of our Erasmus Plus proposal that we submitted, and just talk you through that process. So Social B is in the field of social enterprise, which is a field that LIT has been working in and growing experience in the area. We also have a number of academic programs in the field of business, and we wanted to explore an opportunity to integrate our work, research and development work in social enterprise, back into the academic area and build on our experiences and our knowledge and our networks in the field. So the Knowledge Alliance funding call under Erasmus Plus is an opportunity to connect different sectors, or bring, in inverted commas, industry or sector specific expertise into the academic world, and connect academia into industry or into different sectors. So LIT has never been involved in one of these before. So we approached some partners across Europe to consider an application, and then we decided to progress and coordinate a bid in the field under the Knowledge Alliance call in 2017. So the whole concept of Social B was based on that most academics don't know about social enterprise, yet social enterprise is a significantly growing area in Europe, and there's a European paper on the development of social enterprise. So students in academic business programs typically don't get exposed to social enterprise thinking and opportunities, and typically social enterprises don't attract business graduates, which is unfortunate because most social enterprises actually need to learn and develop management and strategic skills. And we were looking at a way where we could develop modules that could fit into existing business programs, but those modules could also be taken by social enterprises. And then we could make that strong connection between social enterprise and academic development. So Erasmus Plus, and particularly Knowledge Alliance, is very different to Horizon 20 approach. It's more focused on implementation. To have a very strong education and training focus because it is about capacity building. You really need to show clear links between the sector and education. The impact and needs analysis sections are very important. Less focus on intellectual property and primary research. And you do need a 50-50 mix of academic and sector-specific organisations. So in our case, we had a total of 8 partners, 4 of which were social enterprises and 4 were academic organisations. So the document itself, that's the summary of the table of contents that you have to develop. So you develop basically a Word document. Excuse me. So summary of, that's basically executive summary and any relevant previous projects, the relevance to the call, quality of the partnership, impact dissemination, arrangements if there's going to be mobility involved, which in our case there wasn't, any additional project information, work plan and work packages, and then if there's any associated partners. So critical parts are 1, 3, 4 and 7. So our aims were to support sustainability and employability in the social economy by empowering social enterprises and students to engage in the critical skills and competencies of entrepreneurship. So we had wanted to build social entrepreneurship skills gap within students, enhance the skills of practitioners, develop new multidisciplinary approaches to teaching and learning of social enterprise, use e-learning to promote our training, and raise awareness about social B across Europe. So again, you might recognize this methodology, approach or graphic. So there are different stages, what was involved, our outputs, our inputs, and our indicators. So needs analysis, program development, training development, piloting, communication. So developing a skills gap, developing curricula in the field, developing an e-learning portal in which those were promoted and piloted, evaluating the results and communicating all of our outputs. And then you can see our indicators here. So for example, number of curricula developed, number of modules on the portal, number of attendees at training, etc. Again, our PERT chart, so the connection between the work packages, the timeline, and who was leading each work package. The organizational chart, just showing the connections. Again, an external advisory board, a normal method to include in your structures. Here's an example of some of the outputs you're required to develop in Knowledge Alliances, and particularly Erasmus. So description of the deliverable, start end date, what's the title of the deliverable, and what medium will it be published on. So we were doing a literature review, be published online, and we tried to get a journal publication also. So this is the physical application. Again, I'll quickly fly through this just so you get a sense, but again also some of it is confidential. So we have our summary of the proposal and previous project lists. So then the relevance of the project, how does it fit into the objectives of the organizations and the European policies of education and training. So you can see the strong link to education and training here. How the outputs will meet the needs. So analysis of the subject area, so what's the state of the art and what's our innovation that we're bringing to the project, our aims and objectives, and the European added value. So critically, why should we do this at the European level? What's the need for it? What can we learn from European level that we can't learn by just doing it in Ireland, for example? So then our methodology, as we've talked about, how will we manage the project? So we've included kind of resources per partner, how that's allocated, Quality assurance, very important for these type of projects, and how you will evaluate them. So we've talked about evaluation committees, regular meetings, project briefs, evaluation forums. And then the budget, how is it spread across the partners? Then this is a makeup of the consortium and the types of organizations that they are. So again, somewhat unique to knowledge alliances. And then the rationale for proposals, so what everybody brings to it. And then there's a long section where we all describe each other, so describing both the organization and the staff, so that's very important. So let's skip down quickly through that. So now we're in the section on impact. So how will it be sustainable after the project is completed? How will we connect with external bodies? And then critically, our indicators are short-term results, target groups, quantitative indicators and qualitative indicators. Very important to be able to measure and show what those are. Again, skipping down through those. Again, your dissemination strategy, very important. So in many cases, if you have a good dissemination strategy, you can reuse that across multiple proposals. Both Horizon 2020 and Erasmus really would like you to make your resources open access. So some of you may come across, there is a movement called Creative Commons. So this is where you can license your content for people to use, and they can give you different attributions. So you can just have it, use it freely or share it on non-commercial basis. So that's a useful thing to look up. It's called Creative Commons. If you just Google it, you'll find information there. We're down now on then to the work package descriptions, which I won't go through. You know, it's a standard description. What's it about? What are the tasks? Who will do what? What are all the outputs? Again, we had 7 work packages in this. So you can see it takes up a significant portion, and then we describe each work package and then the budget and resources allocated. So again, on the evaluation of that one, we were very close but no cigar. The evaluation was again interesting and very informing. So under relevance we scored 19 out of 25. So one weakness was our needs analysis. They were saying was just implicit. What it was acceptable, not strong enough, not enough innovation. So we needed to explain that further. Quality of the project design was good, a little bit too fragmented in terms of implementation, and may have some overlap. So again, re-looking at just the structure of the work packages. Quality of the project team and cooperation. So this was low, 19 out of 30, disappointing. Really, I think we didn't explain our partnership well enough, and it talked about an uneven spread of partners, workloads, and some partners not having only having one staff member identified. So that was an important learning, that really we need to clearly identify the staff as well as the organizations. Impact dissemination scored well. We need to pay more attention to the exploitation of results amongst policymakers. So a target group that we missed in our dissemination activities. No journal articles mentioned, so that's something that could be added in a resubmission. And not enough information on the training portal sustainability after the project ending. So 72 out of 100, so that was very close. The threshold was 75 for funding. So unfortunately, we didn't secure funding on this occasion for that bid. So let's look at some conclusions. You know, both those proposals that we talked about take considerable work. So in total across the whole consortium, if you add up the work involved, it's about 1.5 to 2 person months of work per 1 million euros of budget. So that's a rough rule of thumb you can use for future for proposal development. Both proposals were very strong, but just not strong enough. So that shows you that competition is very tight. Really, you need to look at all aspects and try to win those extra 1 or 2 marks in each area. You might think you have a very good described work package section, but that will not get you over the line. We had very good, strong consortiums, so good networks that we had built through our various personal and professional contacts, and they all worked well in the proposal development phase. But LIT had a lot of work to do to carry a large portion of the work for the submission. Both proposals are fixable and not fundamentally flawed, which is very important. So when you read the evaluation reports in detail, they do say that they were very much in the right ballpark and we were very close. It is very useful to review evaluations of unsuccessful proposals because you can really find out where your weaknesses are, identify and improve on those. And I constantly come back to, now at a European level, it is all about impact, impact, impact. Really, how will your idea, your concept, your partnership make an impact on solving Europe's problems, or the problems that it has identified that it wants to give you funding for. So I hope those 2 case studies have been of benefit in terms of guiding you in terms of the development process and giving you an insight into some tools, graphics, methodologies that you can use for developing your proposals.